Hey there guys, how are you doing? Welcome back to Rule of Two Review. So what I wanted to do with today's video was talk about a fairly serious topic, and it's much more serious than the initial topic I planned on doing. I actually was intending to make a more fun and lighthearted video about one of the more obvious topics, things I typically do, more sort of centered around fun games and titles and Nintendo and Switch stuff like most of the stuff on Rule of Two Review. But this is an important topic, something that's been brewing and bubbling and talked about for months and months and months, and the whole issue has been coming to a head over the course of the last few months. Everyone's been talking about it. I do have feelings on it and stuff that I want to discuss, so I was like, you know what? Screw it. This is just the video I should probably make today. So we're talking about everyone's favorite topic, loot boxes and microtransactions and season passes and all of these fun things that the internet and a lot of companies in the video game industry are bringing to us way more often in our full-priced games than we would like. It's a very bad trend. It is a hotly debated and very much loathed trend, and it's a big deal. It's just a really big deal, and, you know, like I said, people have been discussing this for a while. I do have many thoughts and theories, and we've had a few key games that surround this topic release over the past couple of weeks, and we have another huge one that I'm actually very excited for, you guys know, coming out next week. And so we need to get into what's going on here. So, loot boxes and microtransactions. Oh, how we loathe the... You know, we've had Destiny 2 and Call of Duty World War II come out over the course of the past few weeks, and I own both of those games. I actually really enjoy both of those games. I mean, Call of Duty is obviously very new. I've only had it for a few days. It came out only a few days ago, and I do have a lot of issues with how the game is put together, but I will admit I'm still loving the same old gameplay. I mean, really what I wanted was great team deathmatch gameplay, and so that part I'm getting, but it is also one of the examples, along with Destiny 2, of really, really poor implementation of microtransactions. And of course, oh my gosh, Shadow of Mordor, how could I forget that as well? That's the other huge, or Shadow of War, whatever the sequel one is, I forget at this point. I was really excited for it until the microtransaction thing. But the new Middle-earth game also is honestly probably more egregious of an example than even what Destiny 2 is. So we have those couple of games, those three games, recently have come out. A lot of people complaining about what's going on there. We have all these big companies, these third-party entities within the industry forcing all this supplementary purchase material and trying to find ways to keep certain content out of the game or give advantages to players who are willing to pay extra, try to charge more from the gamer. So they're not just getting your $60 one time, but they're getting continual purchases and giving you reasons to feel forced and compelled to pull out your credit cards and your debit cards and buy more stupid things like a better weapon or a cool pair of boots. And of course, there's that other huge example game coming out next week, which you guys, of course, do know, is Star Wars Battlefront 2. And that is one that is very near and dear to my heart. And I am just so excited for that game for so many reasons that are more related to Star Wars than the video game thing, that I'm not really personally focusing a lot of my anger or issues with this issue onto that game. I feel like I'm going to have just a fine time with that game. I am massively excited for it. I know I'm going to love it and not have to spend a dang dollar on any stupid loot boxes or whatever they're even called. I don't even know. Like, the star cards are part of what's in Battlefront, and I don't even know what the boxes are called, but it's the same kind of thing where you open a bunch of boxes and cool images fly at you like, ooh, you spent 99 cents, congratulations, here's your dumb thing. And so with some of those big 2017 examples of how this problem has been building and building and growing and people's ability to kind of withstand it has been running out, this is the sort of zeitgeist period that we're in right now where this issue is bubbling over. And I feel like we're almost at the precipice where this is either going to edge one way to the left, maybe, where this problem fixes itself and it curbs itself and the gamer's voice can prevent companies from getting deeper and deeper into this really bad practice, or it might even go the other way to the right, and suddenly it becomes even more of an implemented process and more companies start taking advantage of this concept and shoehorning and forcing this stuff into games and making people angry. Obviously, the loot boxes and the microtransactions are a byproduct of a bigger problem. And that really is kind of one of the main things I was focused on when I thought about this topic, and the fact that I knew I had opinions on this issue and what's been going on. And one of the anchors that I was planning on talking about was the idea of why this is happening. Why are companies doing this? Why are they feeling compelled to do it? And are there other problems and symptoms in the video game industry that is creating this? And I ultimately do think so. I mean, we have to think about why this happens. We have a video game industry nowadays very different than how it was even 5 or 10 years ago, like especially during the 6th and the 7th gen, where game companies were able to put out even a fairly high budget, high profile AAA game, like a Resident Evil or whatever, and just throw that game out into the wild, let it be the $160 purchase, $50 purchase, whatever it was, you're buying your game, and there you go. And that was, apparently, it seemed like all anyone needed in the gaming industry. I mean, last generation specifically, we saw the price hike of an average price of $50 move to $60. Okay, so they were getting $10 more per new copy on average all of a sudden, and that was definitely making up a lot of the costs. And that seemed to overall go over well. I think most gamers and most consumers were fine with that. I mean, we weren't like, yay, another $10 to spend, but I think we were all like, okay, games are $60 now for these new fancy consoles, but everyone just kind of accepted it and it was okay. And on the developer side, you would like to think, cool, they're making all this extra money to curb some of the issues they're having with inflated budgets and spending so much on these big games, and so everything should be working out, and hooray. But of course, what we've seen as the internet has been implemented and integrated more and more into our gaming lives and into the gaming industry and culture, we've started to see that these developers have realized, oh my goodness, there's so much extra money to make here. Why sell just one game at one price and have that be the end of the developer and the consumer relationship? We should be getting so much more money out of gamers. In fact, we're even willing to compromise the vision and the integrity of the product we're making to be able to do so, which of course is the real biggest problem with this whole thing. Beyond just the practice of trying to get more money out of the consumer in a way that feels kind of skeezy and unjust, it's the fact that they would change what their final product is supposed to be or keep certain elements out of it. And it is really interesting when we go back to the 7th generation and we realize that's kind of where some of this stuff started, but in my opinion, I discussed this very, very long ago. In my opinion, it didn't feel like a bad thing. It felt like a very new and a very great thing where we had certain games come out. Fallout 3 is like the immediate game that jumps to my mind as a 7th gen example of early on DLC that at least I remember noticing, wow, they're adding new content and new missions and new things to do to this really huge epic game for people to experience after they've completed the game for just a couple of more bucks. And although there had been expansion packs on PC titles for years, this was new to the console space, and it was new to games that I was playing because I've never been a huge PC gamer. And, you know, when that happened, I was like, this is cool. This is great. Like, Fallout 3 is a great game, for example, or maybe Fable 2, which is a game I liked, or any other, you know, myriad games you could kind of pull from the 7th gen where this started. I was like, oh, cool. Like, what a neat thing to offer people. For just a couple of bucks, sure, I would pay you a couple of bucks to download something to let me play another 5 hours of a game that I really loved but have already completed. That felt like a generous thing to do. But again, we juxtapose that to what's happening today and where gaming and this practice has evolved from back in 2007 and 2008 to today in 2016 and 2017, and we know going into 2018, and it just became something completely different, man. And so why is this happening? Beyond, like I already said, the fact that it's just a reason to get more money, I think it also exposes a bigger problem in the video game industry, which is the development of games and the decisions by developers making some of these games. This is the example, and this is the way that I have to fix this problem. That's like the purpose of this video almost, is like, allow Rob to help you developers figure out why this problem is happening and how to fix the problem where you feel that you just have to do all of these horrible practices and do all of these terrible things with loot boxes and microtransactions that we don't want in our full price games, not free to play games, but full price games. You feel like you have to do this, and the problem is you don't know how to budget your games. That is the issue. And I know it's something that everyone knows. I know you guys know this even coming into this video. But the thing is, I rarely, if ever, have seen anyone who complains about and brings up this topic also talk about the fact that this is the symptom of the developers making poor choices and letting their budgets inflate. Part of the reason we know that this even started and got worse as the years went on is because we started to hear stories from developers saying, we can't make our money back if we just charge $60 for this game. And that, to me, is ludicrous, and it shouldn't be an excuse. I will say, I can see the other side to a degree in the sense that a business is a business, and a business needs to make money, a business needs to make profit, and the consumer needs to give that money over so that the company, the entity, receives the money, makes the profit, does the books, filters that back into the company to make more new products, and in this case, of course, games. And that is a normal, acceptable thing. I definitely don't want to say that that shouldn't be part of the focus of any business, any developer in the gaming industry. That is not healthy for me to say you shouldn't be making any money. It's like, don't give your games away for free, but don't do this. This again shows, I think, poor management of money and funds and poor management of your development time. And no, okay, I'm not a developer, so I don't really know the ins and outs and the P's and Q's and the fine details of this process and what costs what and how you got to meet deadlines and do all these things. Like, I get that there are factors that I could never possibly fathom as somebody who's just a very small-time internet personality on YouTube. I totally get that. But I feel like we can still take real-world, obvious, common sense, business sense and apply it to what's going on here. And I feel like we are seeing exactly what I've said, examples of companies not knowing how to keep their budgets in line. Games probably do not need to cost as much as they're obviously costing, to the point where it's forcing these developers' hands to feel like we can't make money unless we do these things. We have to keep stuff out of our games, and we have to charge prices for supplementary stupid material and then make the gamer mad. And I really just find it disheartening to see that this is where we are. I feel like it's like a video game industry spiraling out of control. Oh my God, we're making this new game XYZ and we can't, the budgets are getting bigger. We have to throw all these other things into the game. I'm knocking over Metroid. I'm so passionate about this. And so we have to throw more stuff into the game. And so, we've spent so much money. We got to start charging microtransactions now because we spent so much money on our game. Where did all this budget come from? What do we do? It's totally a ludicrous thing. And it's uncomfortable for me to think about that's what's happening behind the scenes with some of these bigger companies and bigger games. And you know what? For decades on decades, we didn't really seem to have this problem. I mean, going back to the 8-bit days, through the 16, 32, 64, 6th gen, 5th gen, whatever, 7th gen, all that stuff, we didn't see this problem. And it really became, when DLC first started, like the example I was giving a few minutes ago, like about Fallout and whatnot, that to me was when it seemed like a genuine business practice to strike the nice balance of it's a benefit and a quality additional product to the gamer and to the experience of the gamer, and a fine way for us to make a little bit of extra money and further support our business model. Like, that was great at that time. But the fact that budgets obviously got so insane and ballooned so out of control that we had to create this gross, cancerous monstrosity that we're dealing with today in games like Call of Duty and Battlefront 2, which I'm going to love so much, but I have to admit this problem is present in this game. This is where we've gotten to. And so to the developers of the world, take a look at what other companies are doing where they don't have to do this. Nintendo is obviously a great example because they're not doing this. They're not an example of this problem. And the indie game scene, I say this as somebody who doesn't even play indie games. You guys know that, but one of the greatest things that they're adding to the community and the culture of gaming is making incredible experiences that are beyond creative on very small budgets with very small teams, and they're making profit. Not just like, they're not breaking even. Many of them are making a profit by selling their games for $7.99 or $14.99 or $19.99. And so I don't believe that every game that's going to come out from Rockstar or EA or Activision has to have a graphics engine that costs $300 million to develop for, and they have to throw all of these crazy new physics effects and develop all these new things, obviously at a time where it's probably too early to do so because it's ballooning your budgets and then leading to the microtransactions and the loot boxes, and it's this circular thing. I mean, I'm even repeating, I'm beating a dead horse here because of where we're at, but it's just creating this cycle, and I don't know why every company feels like they have to make these crazy graphics engines and add all these new things. It's like, yes, graphics should improve. You should always try to make quality visuals and make quality engines and add new things and evolve what it means to develop a game, but do it within reason. Obviously, we're pushing too hard and we're worried about 4K textures. We can't even get 60 frames per second locked down, and you're apparently trying so many extra things that your budgets can't be maintained. And that's the problem. Like, if we didn't have crazy budgets, there's a good chance that some of the worst examples of this stuff probably wouldn't be happening. Would we still be seeing DLC and you know, some companies trying to make a quick extra buck with some stuff? Yes, at this point, that's always going to be a permanent thing in the industry because the internet allows for it. But again, it could be happening in a more appropriate and acceptable way, like what it was 10 years ago, or it could be the gross monster that it's become today. So, I got pretty heated in this, just like my EA video from a couple of days ago. It's very weird because, like I said, I don't really normally get this way. It kind of takes a lot to get me so elevated. Like, I love gaming. I talk about gaming on this channel because I like to do it, and it makes me happy, and it's fun, and it's a great thing. But then I talk about EA making stupid decisions, and then I talk about loot boxes and microtransactions, and how the industry is up its own butt with how to control its freaking budgets. And I'm just like, it just takes it out of me. And it gets a rise out of me. I just get heated about it because, you know, I mean, I'm just like you guys, man. I work for a living. I work to make my money. I want to spend my money appropriately. I want to get quality, complete products with my video game purchases. And I don't want to feel like I'm having stuff kept out or loot boxes and microtransactions shoved in my face, or you need your season pass to complete your experience. That was the problem with EA's first Battlefront. And it's like, hey, I mean, I'm on the same side as you. I'm here to defend the gamer and defend our purchases and our right to spend money on quality, complete products. That's where I'm at with this. And so this problem is just that. It's a problem. And again, it's the budget thing, man. That's the thing I haven't heard enough people talk about. Developers of the industry, keep your budgets in check. Find a way to make a profit with a $59.99 purchase. And again, I'm talking obviously in US North American prices, so forgive me for people outside of the States, but these prices, whatever the standard is before microtransactions, you gotta find a way. If your engines and your graphics and your physics and your whatever is ballooning you beyond the point where $60 makes you money, you stop. You figure it out. You use art and creativity and imagination like these indie developers to make it all work, and you can make great games and sell it for $60 and make money. There are so many companies still doing it. Why are these other companies completely without the ability to make a Middle-earth game or a Star Wars game or a Call of Duty game without charging loot boxes? Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm done. I'm good, you guys. I'm wrapping this up. I gotta end this. Definitely, of course, as always, talk about it below. Gotta hear thoughts on what you guys think. I assume everyone's going to say pretty much the same thing. This is a garbage practice. These companies in the industry are making huge mistakes, poor decisions with their game development, and they're taking it out of the consumer. They're just pulling it out of our skin. Give us more money. Here's a loot box. Here's a star card. Give us more of what you got. And we're just like, ow, quit it. Just quit picking things off of me, bro, because I'm sick of giving you money for garbage. Anyway, I'm good. I'm done. Talk about this below. Thanks, of course, as always, for tuning in, guys. This is Rob of Rule of Two Review, and I will see you next time on a much happier video.